Yes. So let's all take a deep breath after all this hooking up this morning and exhale and good morning. And welcome to Unity Center of Davis. There we go. I put this here so I could stand up and I forgot to stand up. Welcome to Unity Center of Davis. Good morning, everybody. I'm Reverend Rich Carlini, and we welcome you this morning in the name and through the nature of that living Christ presence that lives and dwells in the heart of each and every one of us, and in the warm and loving spirit that's come to be known as unity. I've got all of your microphones muted this morning, except David Trolley is now going to unmute himself and give us a little music. Please join us in singing Weave. Let's pray together, please. Loving God, we come together this morning to honor the activity of the universe and God in and through our lives. And we pray the prayer of that song, weave us together in unity and love. We're all bringing beautiful, beautiful threads to this tapestry, each and every one of us. No matter what color we are, what creed we are, what religion we are, what sexual identity we are, what gender we are. Together, we each bring our own gifts to this beautiful tapestry. And this morning we come together to weave ourselves together in unity and love. And so it is. Amen. And now, we have our vision statement and our mission, and that's coming up on the screen. And if you would affirm our vision statement with me, UCOD's vision statement, a world transformed by divine love. Let's say that together. A world transformed by divine love. And our mission is we radiate that divine love through prayer, spiritual enrichment, joyful connection, and sacred service. One more time together. We radiate that divine love through prayer, spiritual enrichment, joyful connection, and sacred service. And now's the time that we would like to pray for others. And I'd like to invite you, as I unmute all of us, to bring the names of anyone that we would like to bring into our prayer circle this morning. If you want to just say their names to yourself or say them out loud. And let's gather them in our prayer circle this morning.
Mindy, Paul, Larry, John,
Father, David, Naga,
John,
oh my God,
and the world leaders.
Linda.
So we bring all those together in prayer, and we see healing for those needed healing, prosperity for those who seek prosperity, guidance for those who are seeking guidance, freedom from those seeking freedom, and comfort for those needing comfort. We bring them together, and we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we hold the Christ in you. And so it is. Amen. And we'd like to, are there any first-time visitors with us this morning? I don't think there are, but if I've missed anybody, you're welcome to put your name and address in the chat box or your email, and we'll be glad to send you our electronic welcome packet. Put your name and email address in.
Good morning. I'm Patricia Wright, and it is my pleasure this morning to be leading us in our time of affirmative prayer. Affirmative prayer statements are positive words of truth that call forth the divine activity within each of us. Each time we pray affirmatively, we are lifted in mind, body, and spirit to a consciousness of oneness. I will say the affirmation once, and it will appear on your screen, then invite you to join me in repeating them 2 more times. So we will hear each affirmation 3 times. So now, let us turn to that place within, that sacred and holy place that is the calm center of being, where all is well. We breathe into the spaciousness of spirit as we turn to the place of infinite good. I will say the affirmation once, then invite you to join me in affirming it 2 more times. Inner peace. Centered in God, I am secure and peaceful. Together, inner peace. Centered in God, I am secure and peaceful. Centered in God, I am secure and peaceful. Wisdom. Within the silence of prayer, I gain a clear sense of direction. Together, within the silence of prayer, I gain a clear sense of direction. Within the silence of prayer, I gain a clear sense of direction. Life. By the power of divine life, I thrive. Together, by the power of divine life, I thrive. By the power of divine life, I thrive. Prosperity. I welcome every blessing in a spirit of gratitude and generosity. Together, I welcome every blessing in a spirit of gratitude and generosity. I welcome every blessing in a spirit of gratitude and generosity. Faith. My eyes can see the beautiful potential within and all around me. Together, my eyes can see the beautiful potential within and all around me. And now let us prepare for meditation.
Only believe, only believe, all things are possible, only believe, only believe, only believe. All things are possible, only believe. Only believe, only believe. All things are possible, only believe, only believe, only believe. All things are possible, only believe.
Deep, deep, deep breath in. Deep breath in and hold it for a moment. Hold it, and exhale. And begin to settle in. Begin to settle into this time, this place. Begin to settle into this very moment. Begin focusing on the breath and taking in one more deep breath and holding it, And exhale and drop the shoulders, relax the belly. Allow your arms to just settle in. Focus on the breath, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. I believe all things are possible, and I believe. I believe that I create my own reality. Thoughts held in mind produce like kind. I believe that I prosper. I believe that I thrive. I believe that I am a perfect child of God, beautiful in every way. I believe I love myself. I believe in me. I believe in me. I am one with the power and presence of God, the one and only presence in this universe that I connect with. I believe in love. I believe in life. I believe that through prayer and meditation, I communicate with the universe. And I believe that the universe says yes. Yes. Yes, I will co-create your reality with you. I believe. Focusing on the breath, going just a little bit deeper inside now. Letting go of anything that may stop you from believing. Letting go of any thoughts of negativity, of lack. Letting go of any thoughts that you don't deserve. All that is yours. I deny any thoughts that disallow me from creating my own reality. And I affirm that I believe that through the one presence and one power, we create my reality together. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I settle into that quiet place where phones don't ring, where calls don't come in, where someone isn't always knocking at the door, where I'm not wanted for anything other than being one with Spirit. I am one with Spirit. I believe in prayer and meditation. I believe in that quiet place where I connect with Spirit. I believe in the healing power of the silence. I believe in the silence. In the silence, I sit and I believe. I believe. I believe that I am a perfect child of God, beautiful in every way. I believe that I am prosperous. I believe that I am worthwhile. I believe in me. I believe in me. I believe in the healing power of love. I believe. Coming back to this time and place now, we open ourselves to gratitude. Grateful for this time together. Grateful for our willingness to be together in the silence, to know that all things are possible if I believe. Coming back to this time and place, we open up our heart and we open up our minds to the present moment, and we wiggle our fingers and wiggle our toes, lick our lips, and come back to this time and place. And we slowly open our eyes and we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Amen. Well, good morning, and here we are. The cat's on the lectern, and all is well. I acquired a cat during the meditation, and now we're going to have our a little music with David Trolley singing. No, I'm going to do my talk first. I'm sorry, the cat screwed me all up here. All right, Pat Wright, are you there? Patricia? No, she's left us.
Yes, I am here.
Oh, Patricia, thank you. Could you unmute people that want to ask me questions?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I hate to ask you to do that, but
No, it's no problem.
And our talk this morning is questions and answers with me. And I apologize for my cat eating the plants and coming up and sitting on my lap this morning. This is Miss Puma, everybody, and she's active this morning, which is unusual. She's usually asleep during service. So I am open to, we were going to have a get together with the board prior to my being hired so that you could ask me questions. And we never got to do that because we were sheltered in place, and I so appreciate you hiring me anyway without that discussion. And but now we can have it. And I'm open for questions about me. I'm open for questions about my beliefs. I'm open for questions about unity, about what we believe in unity, or at least what I think that we believe in unity. I'm open to answer almost any question. And I put a caveat on there because you know how some of you can be when you have an opportunity to talk to the minister. Don't ask too many questions now. All right. Who would like to go first? Anybody? Let's see. Julie Curry. Wait 1 second, Julie, till Pat unmutes you.
I think you're going to have to maybe make me host so that I can unmute.
All right, forgive me. Just 1 second. There you go. Oops. Yes. There you go, Patricia.
Okay, we're good to go.
All right, Julie Curry.
I was just wondering, when you were growing up at any time in your life, when did you know that you were deeply spiritual or that it was going to be a path for you? I'm just always curious.
Well, that's a very good question, Julie. But when I was growing up, I wasn't deeply spiritual. My father was Roman Catholic. My mother was German Lutheran. And in 1950s, that wasn't a good thing. It was more of Catholics married Catholics and Protestants married Protestants.
Yeah.
And so really the rift that caused in the family, especially with the Catholic portion of the family, I just sort of stayed away from it. I have to say that, and I was telling this to somebody, it may have been the board, I can't remember, but in the late 80s, a good friend of mine, probably one of my best friends, acquired the AIDS virus and knew that there was no cure for it. And he had been raised Catholic, Julie, and he wasn't happy with the teachings of the Catholic Church. And he said to me, I want to, spend the last couple years of my life in a different, in a faith that's based on the truths that I believe. So we went around to a bunch of churches of different faiths, and he tried them. And I went with him, and for some reason that clicked something in me. I began to get curious about spirituality. I knew I believed something, but I wasn't sure what it was. And then I moved from North Idaho, or I moved to North Idaho from San Francisco. That was a big change. And there I ended a career of drinking Jim Beam bourbon and became sober. And when you go into recovery, they suggest that you find a spiritual power, a spiritual being, or connect with spirit. And my next door neighbor, let me give her credit, Shirley Thagard, said to me, well, Richard, if you like AA, you'll love Unity. And I said, Unity? What's Unity? And at the time, in Coeur d'Alene, Unity Church of North Idaho was located on the Fort Sherman campus. And if you can picture in your mind what chapels on forts used to look like in the late 1800s, early 1900s, with the A-frame building and the slanted roof, it was beautiful. And I went there for the first time, and this woman minister that I was not used to, a woman minister, came up on the stage and had just been at a Jesus seminar. And she started talking about what perhaps Jesus, the man, may have said in his life that was in the Bible, that was, of all the words that were in the Bible that are attributed to him, what did the scholars think that he really said? And that resounded with me. We were looking at truth. And I've been going to Unity ever since. So my spirituality, and you asked me, how did I know I was going to go on a spiritual path? Well, of course I didn't. And I'll take this just one step farther, and then I'll take another question. I decided to go off with a friend of mine to Unity Village to take some classes in what were called at the time the personal development program. And when I got back there, you had to register. And on the application, you had to check one of 4 boxes: pastoral, youth and family, administration, or ministry. And the woman behind the desk was almost finished, and she said, oh, you've checked the ministerial path. Well, I hadn't checked any path. I don't know who checked the ministerial path on that. And I said, oh, no. And she said, we're looking so forward to having you join us in our ministerial program. And she got up and walked away. And I'm there, miss. And so 5 years later, I was getting ordained. So it's just sort of, if you only believe, all things are possible, and you never know. I always like to say that my mother wouldn't know what to think right now. She'd be shocked. Who's next? Julie, does that help a little bit? Good. Next. Joy Duffy. Now wait 1 second till Patricia turns you on. Go ahead, Joy.
So, hi, Reverend Rich. We're definitely blessed and grateful to have you as part of us, and us as part of you. In that, I have a couple of sort of nuts and bolts questions, and one is simply, how do you best want us to contact you? And if it's email, what email address is sort of the very best. So that's part one, and that's simple if you just want to answer that part.
Well, I thank you for giving me a little bit of time here. Patricia, when we negotiated my contract, she said that nobody would be contacting me. So I won't get, no, I'm kidding. You know, you can contact me however you need to. My preferable way would be to schedule an appointment if we needed to talk. And you can use the richardcarlini@gmail.com address.
Thank you. richardcarlini@gmail.com.
Yes, you're welcome, Joy.
That we can do that. Next is, and maybe this is putting you a little on the spot, but one of the things that I had never ever seen done in many, many years of being part of churches, but our Reverend Catherine had each of us that wanted to fill out an sort of information form about ourselves. And it certainly was, how does she contact us? But then a little bit more about our families and that kind of thing. And what she told us she was going to do with them, which was probably why it certainly touched me so much, was that she was putting them all together in a binder to then, in her daily prayer practice, hold the binder, possibly flip through pages, whatever she was guided to do. Anyway, is that something you've heard of doing? And I still have a form that she had us use, if that's something you might like to email out to each of us and get our responses, or how do you feel about that?
Well, that's a good question. Now, I've never done that before, but you know, let me say this and then let me explain it. I'm open to doing just about anything in and through ministry. I think that every congregation is different and that every ministry is different. And I also believe in co-creating. So I'm very open to ideas and ways of doing things that I might not have thought of, or that are different than something that I would have thought of. And so if that's something you would like me to do, I'm happy to do that. But my way of doing what Reverend Catherine does has it's already began the very first time I came to Unity Center of Davis, and the lights were out, and David Trolley was playing that, whatever that piano was, that acoustic piano, and I began learning about each and every one of you at that time. And since then, I've learned so much about a lot of you. Some of you I haven't spoken with, but some of you I've spoken with more than others. And it seems that even in the prime of my life here, as I'm getting near 70, I have a compartment for storing that information. And I hold it in my mind, and I do hold it in prayer, and I do maintain a prayer list, and I hold that prayer list in prayer. And it's not just from Unity Center of Davis, but it's anybody that I have on my prayer list at the time. And so, Joy, I'm sure just like you do with your chaplain, with your congregants that you pray for, you have a prayer time, and I have a prayer time that I sit down with and bring my prayer list in with me. So really, my style is to get to know you, especially in a congregation of this size, is to get to know you individually. Now, if we were meeting in person, that would be easier to do. We could certainly go and have coffee afterwards and talk, or sit and talk, but I'm enjoying getting to know people on the phone and by Zoom meeting. Does that answer that question, Joy?
Really in your ballpark, if,
Does it answer?
and yes, it answers just fine. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, anything else you want to know, Joy, before you two? Joy, what's that?
Thank you. I bet other folks have really good questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joy. Who's next? Oh, Terry Parker, and then Moon. 1 second, Terry. There you go.
Yeah. So I was intrigued to find out during our last book club meeting that you have been very involved with the hospice program in various places, because you mentioned it while we were having our meeting. And my question has to do with, how do you see your experience, your personal experience with the hospice, interrelating with not only the unity philosophy and practices, but also perhaps more specifically also in regards to the Unity Center of Davis, given that we're all kind of in the aging stage of our lives, not everybody, but many of us are. And if you have any interesting ideas about perhaps programs or courses that you have in mind for us in the future. I know that's huge, just whatever you feel like answering is fine.
Well, that was a huge question. Thank you. Let me say that I purposely went into hospice work before I went into ministry because I wanted to do direct patient care prior to going off to ministerial school. So while I was in personal development, I did direct patient care in the Palm Springs area. You know, both Unity and hospice have been instrumental in my life. And I have to say that I use both of them on a daily basis. In my experience in 25 years with hospice, I have met just so many wonderful, wonderful people at the end of their life and their families that were moving through this end of the human experience process with them. I've seen anger, I've seen love, I've seen denial, I've seen bargaining, I've seen depression, and I've seen 100% acceptance. And then while I was working as an administrator of a hospice, my staff would come in to me and they would need nurturing because they're seeing 5 patients a day that are at the end of life, and they're bringing all of that back with them. And so as I have used hospice in being a Unity minister, I've used my Unity ministerial tools with my staff in hospice. The biggest thing that I brought to hospice as a Unity minister was the desire and the ability to listen. I think one of the things that is so important that to me that I learned in both hospice and in Unity is that each and every one of us have a story, and our story is important, and we need to tell our story, and we like our story to be heard when we're telling it. And so both Unity and hospice have brought a desire. I don't want to say an ability to listen, because we all have the ability to listen. I think without the desire to listen, we don't listen as fully and as attentively as we could. And I love to listen. You know, both Unity and hospice, Terry, have led me to have a radio show on Unity. Terry, put your hand up a minute. There you are. I lost you. I wanted to look at you when I was talking. Thank you. Both Unity and hospice have given me the ability to do my radio show, The Healing Power of Grief, and also brought a comfort to me that I could move through what Unity Center of Davis and what we all moved through together a couple of months ago when we lost some very, very valuable congregants, longtime members, friends, founding members, even our homeless friend whose first name I can't remember right now, who was with us and left us during that time. So it's a deep feeling of gratitude that I have, that I can bring hospice and Unity together. Terry, did you ask me? Someone asked me about classes, and you know, I don't think we're going to have any problem deciding on classes. I can't believe that you as a congregation asked us to do a book study on Finding Yourself in Transition by Robert Brummett. That's just so appropriate for the time, and it's such a wonderful thing for a minister to have a congregation say, well, let's do a book study on this book of truth, and let's you see what we can do to help us get through this period of time. So let's study this. And so we'll know what to do next, I believe. I believe that my calling here, because as you know, I wasn't planning on having another church. It was not in my, let me say, I wasn't getting up and praying for a ministry every morning when I did my morning prayers. This is divine appointment. It came along. So I believe that by sitting down and bringing our consciousness together, we'll know what classes we're going to do next.
Hey,
Thank you, Terry. And then Moon? Wait 1 second, Moon. Okay, you're on.
First of all, Reverend Richard, I'd like to say that you have showed yourself to us in a way that through our personal losses with our congregants, and keeping us strong as a group has been 1,000 thank yous. My question specifically is I I've noticed in a lot of ministers aren't doing this as much, but it seems that you're deep in your faith in Unity and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, and how that represents the metaphysical understanding of the Bible. My question is this something that you are? Because to me, it's one of the reasons I went to Unity, and to know that the minister has that connection and has that education in that brings it much closer to home for me. And I'm just wondering, I mean, with classes, do you see us taking classes that are going to be, based on Myrtle and Charles Fillmore?
Thank you, Moon. I'm trying to think about my answer to this. You know, I think I talk about Myrtle and Charles Fillmore a lot, and you will always hear me talk about Myrtle and Charles Fillmore because I believe they were ahead of their time. And I believe that Charles, in his own way, really was far ahead of his time when he talked about the 12 powers, when he talks about a new world order, a new world vision, when Myrtle and talks about the silence and how to know God. Myrtle was really ahead of herself. I don't think that Myrtle and Charles are the only teachers. I go to Ernest Holmes an awful lot. Last week at on our book club, Julie Curry, I believe, mentioned that she was reading Joel Goldsmith. There are so many wonderful truth teachers out there that I think will incorporate anybody into our classes that we want to, that provides truth teachings to us. And that includes metaphysical teachings. You know, what I thought, Moon, that you might ask me about what is the Bible, is I thought where you were going, or where do I get my information from? And I believe that the Bible is a book of a history of a people, of the Jewish people. And then there was a movement that took place by a gentleman who we think his name is Jesus. And he was so connected to that spiritual being that he truly was, that he expressed that connection in this human experience. And that the Bible gives us in the New Testament some written stories about that. And I think that as we include in our teachings, and I hope we can include in our teachings, look at more history from that period of time that wasn't included in the Bible when the canons, when Constantine sat down and negotiated with what was going to be in the Bible and what wasn't. I mean, when we look at the Gnostic Gospels, we look at the Gospel of Mary, we look at the Gospel of Q, when we look at the Gospel of Judas, we're seeing a whole different side of that period of time. And so I think what we have to do is come together and not look at just one person's ideas, but what's our truth? And what do we gather from all of the teachings, from Rumi, from the Quran, from Hinduism, from Confucianism, from all the way back to the time of Mesopotamia and Zoroastrianism, what was going on there? And so I think over our time together, I'm hoping that we bring classes together that widen and expand our knowledge so that our knowing becomes deeper, and we can share with each other what it is that we've learned and what we believe. One of my most, thank you, Moon. One of my most favorite times was when I was at Unity of Seattle, and I was conducting the new member orientations. And it was so much fun to go around and do introductions, because almost anybody that came new was from a different denomination. And almost everybody that was from a different denomination brought baggage from that denomination. And so it was wonderful to hear the baggage and talk about the baggage. And people asked me questions like, well, if I come to Unity, do I have to believe this or do I have to believe that? And I would say, no, you don't have to believe anything. You can just come for the music if you want to and get filled up that way. You don't have to believe anything. And that took away any fear that they may have. And so I hope that we can come together with all of our thoughts and all of our beliefs and share them and go away knowing more than we did when we came. Who would be next? Anybody else have a question? Marcia Chicotto. 1 second till you get unmuted, Marcia. There you go.
Thank you. We were privileged that one of the first times we met you to do, I believe it was the melting bowl ceremony together. And, you know, that is a very powerful ceremony that I look forward to every year. But my question is just how you see the role of ceremony in our ministry. And are there certain ones that stand out to you that are kind of go-tos that you really appreciate the most? But how do you see that coming into our ministry?
Well, Marcia, by ceremony, can I make that coincide with ritual?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Because I'm more prone to ritual than I am to ceremony. Ceremony sort of sounds like we get all dressed up for it or something, and we might. God knows, Marcia, you know, as I've said to Patricia Wright a couple times and a few other people, I'm a creator. So just let me create. And if you don't want to take anything I create, don't take it. Or if you do want to take some of it or all of it, take it. I mean, I just like to create. And so you, Marcia, may see me show up in my robe someday, in my ministerial robe for a ritual. I'm not, you know, so I believe in ritual strongly. And I have to say that that melting bowl that we did that day was one of the things that called me to Unity Center of Davis as a minister. That the participation and involvement by you as a congregation in that ceremony just filled my heart. And everybody just was so open, and I loved watching you all waiting to burn your piece of magic paper and be in a place of contemplation while you were getting ready to do that. And that's what ritual is all about. So I like to bring ritual into the service. The melting bowl is one of my favorites. The white stone is one of my favorites. I love Thanksgiving, and I love adding ritual to Thanksgiving. Christmas can be a wonderful time for ritual. Some Unity ministers say that they don't like spiritual communion, that they don't use elements. I happen to like spiritual communion and the ritual of communion, and I happen to like using elements, not traditional elements, but different types of elements that come in. I love walking the labyrinth together as a community. And so there's an opportunity for all of that. And, you know, I'd like to hear, Joy Duffy, when you say about putting together a list or a sheet of paper, I'd like to have you send me an email or call me up. And if you'd like a ritual, or if you have a ritual that you'd like to suggest, then we talk about it and see if we can bring it to the congregation. Who else has a question? Anybody else have a question? John Duffy? Go ahead, John.
One of the things that impresses me about Unity Center of Davis is the high level of volunteerism. Both in one sense, we need it, and the other sense is that people do step up. So, could you tell us a little bit about how you like to love and take care of your volunteers? Do you have anything special relative to a volunteer workforce?
Well, that's a very good question, John Duffy. May I use you as an example, John Duffy? No. Please? Okay, thank you. I was reading a letter of an email of John Duffy's to a friend of mine yesterday, because I just loved it so much. And I think it answers that question, John. So if you all noticed that the slides during the announcements were different today. Did anybody notice that? Well, I don't know if you liked it or not. It was all John Duffy's idea. No, it was my idea, okay? Now, John and David have been doing the slides for years now. And so I said, well, John, how about this and how about that? And because one of the things I don't know if you all know about me is that for 8 years in San Francisco, I ran a direct mail business that mailed over 1 million pieces of direct mail a year to every home in San Francisco. And with that, I must have designed, I can't tell you how many ads for this little coupon booklet that I produced. Well, John Duffy says to me, I don't have an eye for that. And I said, well, John Duffy, I do have an eye for that, so let's do it together. And then I made some last minute changes to the PowerPoint yesterday, and John Duffy wrote back, well, thank you, Reverend Rich, but I decided to keep this one portion that you changed the way that it's been. And I wrote back, John, if we do that, I'm not going to preach on Sunday. No, that's fine. I think that volunteer, and if you can see what I'm saying is we did that together. So I love the volunteerism at this ministry. It's one of the reasons why I came to this ministry. If you're doing church in a box like we're doing, and you don't have committed volunteerism, you won't hold on to a minister. The minister will get exhausted, and so will you. But you've creatively come up with how to volunteer that it works. And I love that kind of volunteerism, and I honor that kind of volunteerism. And I'm used to coming together once a year to celebrate volunteerism in the church. And I hope that we do that when we can get back together. And if we don't have a chance to get back together until next year, that we celebrate it on Zoom, and that we do what it takes. Your church, our church, forgive me, is unique in a way. Every church has volunteers, but you take care of every aspect of your ministry, and you've done that through ministers. I love that, and I honor that, and I support that. And so I want to be able to say thank you to you. I'm saying thank you right now, and I want to say, know that I'm saying thank you every day. I can't believe the amount of volunteerism at our ministry. And any more questions? Caroline did you put your hand up, Caroline? No. But she's in front of that beautiful bush. Anybody else? Well, I hope that you enjoyed this.
Cam had raised her hand, Reverend.
I don't see Cam, but go ahead, Cam. Cam, there you are.
I think you've answered it. I know we're at the end of our time, and I'm just curious, other than what you said, is there any other aspect of Unity Center of Davis that attracted you? I mean, we've heard some things, but is there something that in particular that brought you to us?
Yeah. You all are filled with love. I mean, you can feel it. It's not I came away from my first service at Unity Center of Davis in the dark feeling just pure love. And I do every time I'm with you all. And that to me is what it's all about. It's about love. It's about us sharing love together and knowing love. That love is the divine harmonizer. Together with love, we can get through anything. We can get through a pandemic. We can get through being I can't think of the word right now. What are we? We're sheltering at home. Sheltering at home. Love will get us through that. And I have to admit, you're all pretty well educated, and you all bring your own opinions to the table, and you're not afraid to state them. And I just love that. I mean, what a boring ministry if everybody listens to the minister and takes everything he says as as gospel. I couldn't tolerate that. I like to be called out, and several of you have done that on an occasion and said, well, I don't know about this or that. And so that's very special to me. I like us being able, because truth is truth. And if you have a truth that you want to talk about, I want to hear about it. It may change my truth. And I just think that's wonderful. I also, one of the other things that drew me to come to this ministry was Marlene's biscotti. Isn't that Marlene that makes biscotti? Yes, Those are, as an Italian man, those are some of the best biscotti I've had. And so I thought, well, I don't mind driving to Davis on Sunday morning for those biscotti. Absolutely not. Oh, everybody agreed with that, Marlene. Well, I think we're at the end of our time for questions and answers. And there could be nothing better than at the end of this time, but to have one more song from David Trolley. So David, Patricia's gonna unmute you if she would, and let's have a little music, David, from, I think we're having music today from Faith Rivera.
Yeah, and this is just a perfect song to match what everybody's saying, how many ways we are each called to do what we do.
Oh, David Trolley. That was beautiful, David. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. Thank you. And now's the time that we come together to bring our offerings to the table. Unity Church of Davis is so grateful for your love offering. And I want to just take a moment to have each of us hold our own prosperity consciousness in our mind. We were on the phone with I was on the phone with our treasurer, John Duffy, and the president, Patricia Wright, the other day, and we were talking about offerings and about how the church was doing financially. And while we were sitting there going over the finances, I think another $2,000 came in the door, and that was just wonderful, such a great example of prosperity. And so I have my tithe and my tithe right here, and if you have tithes handy and you want to hold them in your hand, thank you, Julie Curry, yes. And attached on the email or on the PowerPoint that you're seeing now is the address. You can address your tithes and love offerings to Unity Center of Davis at Post Office Box 4478 in Davis, 95617. Or Patricia Wright, am I correct? Can we use the website? Is there a donate button on the website now?
Yes, there is a donate button on the website, and it's actually quite easy to use. It's found under Connect to Us. So on the main menu, if you go to Connect, you'll see a selection for Donate. You click on that, and it will take you through to some very easy instructions.
Thank you. So there are many ways to donate: by mail, online, via credit card. You can have cash in your hands, and we'll send a Grubhub driver over to pick it up and bring it somewhere. But we give thanks for all of your offerings, and our offering blessing. Let's say it together as we hold our tithes in our hands. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am,
all that I have,
all that I am,
all that I give,
all that I give, and all that I receive. I am
grateful.
You're out of here. This is real important. You're out of here just for 2 more minutes. Go.
What's that? I'm out of here in 2 more minutes. All right.
Oh, Grandma.
Let's sing the peace song together now.
The peace that was meant to be, with God as our center, family are we. Let us walk with each other.
Let this be my joyous heart.
To take each moment in peace eternally. Let
protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am
that light.
the love
God
of God
upholds us. I am that love.
the power
Power
of
of God
protects
protects
us.
us. I am that power.
the presence
Presence
of
of God
God
watches
Watches
over
over
us.
us.
I
I
am
am that
that
presence.
together
wherever we
Wherever we
are,
are,
God
God is.
and
and
all.
all is well.
Have a fabulous week. We'll see you next week when we begin talking about unity principles. Stay and visit for a little while. Thank you very much and God bless.
Thank you.